Donald Trump finished off a long 24 hours of breaking the law by attacking reporters, asking him questions about that very law breaking. Because what else would we expect from the party that claims to love law and order, and of course free speech as well, other than attacking the Constitution and suppressing the free press? But what else are we expecting from Donald Trump besides this? He is illegally deporting people. He is attacking the Constitution, and he has decided that he can void President Biden's pardons. It is all insanity, and it's the reason he was called out and caught in a lie face-to-face with a reporter that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into the questions asked of Donald Trump, I want some context and just a great synopsis of what he is doing to break the law from Jessica Tarlov right here.
Case.
Funny you should mention that. No, there is good reason that everybody is saying alleged members and suspected members, because these people, as Dana said, have not gotten their due process. And there's an immigration attorney who has been posting about her client who was supposed to show up in court on Thursday, has been disappeared since then, is allegedly on this plane, and this person
what was he
is here.
supposed to show up in court for?
What, he had a legitimate asylum claim. He had tattoos.
Legitimate asylum. It's not legitimate until a judge says it's legitimate.
But if you make it so that that person can't see a judge, then you're denying them their due process.
I don't know if I buy
What Trump is essentially saying is that the asylum system, as we know it, is done. That you can show up here and you're fleeing from persecution in Venezuela, for instance, and you don't get your day in court. So if that's what it is moving forward, then just say that. Be honest.
But you know the asylum system has been gamed.
Sure,
it is completely exploited by criminals.
Most don't even show up, and most don't get approval.
You can throw whatever you want at the wall. I'm still going to finish what I'm saying.
That's just facts.
No, but it isn't facts.
We should build a wall.
They're illegal. They don't belong here in the first place. If they weren't invited.
Then just be honest and say it's not about getting criminals out. It's about getting everyone out who is here illegally. That we can pick up anyone. And that's not Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar. Obviously, they're not getting
deported. You do the worst first. That's what we're doing.
But why is this person?
See, one person.
No, but this is the first flight. Why can't you just wait to let everyone get processed?
So you agree?
Yes, it's the first flight of deportations of this
I'm going to give you this, Jessica. I'm so glad you agree with what's being done. You just have a problem with how it's being done. So we're making progress.
Right. I would say this. They've been.
Is it not crazy that Jessica Tarlov had to explain due process to Judge Jeanine Pirro? You're a judge. How do you not understand that people should have their basic human and civil liberties protected? This is insanity. And again, we've talked about this over and over again, that Donald Trump is picking this wedge issue because he thinks he can make it about, protecting Americans versus listening to judges. But that's not actually the question here. Donald Trump is not protecting Americans by illegally deporting lawful residents of this country based off racial profiling alone. And it's not like they're just detaining them. That would be bad. But they're shipping them to prisons in El Salvador just for the way they look. It is absolutely absurd. It is incredibly scary. And it's just one of the many aspects of the plan to essentially overturn checks and balances that Donald Trump has put forward. The other being his big post last night saying that he's voiding all of Joe Biden's pardons, which he was asked about and kind of got caught in a lie with this right here.
And you'll make your own determination.
You have criticized President Biden for using auto pen in the last few days. Have you yourself ever used auto pen, sir?
Yeah, only for very unimportant papers. And I don't call them unimportant. If you do letters where people write in and, they'd love to have a response, and we'll write responses, and I'll sign them whenever I can, but when I can't, I, would use an auto pen. But to use them for what they've used them for is terrible.
So Donald Trump was asked if he had ever used AutoPen. Now, we saw Trump refer to this a couple of hours before his post, saying that he had unlawfully voided Joe Biden's pardons, right? Remember the image? It was Trump, then the pen, then Trump again. So essentially taking a shot at that. But then Donald Trump says, yes, I have used AutoPen to sign his own pardons of the January 6th insurrectionists. He didn't sign all 1,600 of those. Donald Trump said AutoPen for some of his own legislation, some of his own executive actions. completely going against the main basis of an argument for why he could void Joe Biden's pardons, which isn't even a good argument. It doesn't make any sense. And because Donald Trump was probably pretty upset that he had just admitted he was lying and humiliated himself, he wasn't happy taking any other questions from reporters and said this to one right here.
Sir, and when you signed to the CR,
Who are you with?
Sir, I'm with NBC News.
Oh, that's the same one. I don't want to talk to NBC anymore. I think you're so discredited.
Mr. President,
This is something that we have seen J.D. Vance start doing a lot. He asks which outlet the reporters are with before he is willing to answer their question, because he's a loser and a clown, but also because they want to suppress the free press. J.D. Vance literally went to Munich to talk about free speech and lecture the rest of the world. And then he and Donald Trump come home and sue journalists, intimidate outlets, say they won't speak with him, kick them out of the press pool. This is what it is all about in the Trump administration. It's not just about the attacks of their enemies. That is one thing. It is about the larger intimidation and suppression of everyone else. If they make an example out of people in a scary enough way, they expect pre-capitulation and a bending the knee across just like many avenues. They expected to see lawyers refuse to take cases for Democrats. They expect media outlets to not run stories critical of Donald Trump. They expect elected officials to not hold him accountable, judges as well. That's what this is about. It's a larger intimidation factor. That's why he's saying no to an NBC reporter. That's why he's suing Ann Seltzer, going after CBS. That's what it's all about. And we see some more of that right here.
Mr. President, when most people think of the Kennedy Center, they think of the Kennedy Center Honors. Takes place in December every year. Is that something that you anticipate hosting at the White House? And what do you think that
We're going to have honors. We're going to have, I think it's going to be a much bigger show than it has been in the past. It got tired, very boring, very radical left. Unless you were a radical left, it just seemed that...
First of all, Trump just sounds stupid when he says that we're going to have honors, but not if you're radical left. He doesn't even know what he's saying. He's just trying to distract from the fact that egg prices are soaring, the economy is tanking, so is approval rating. This is all just one big distraction. Donald Trump is trying to pretend like he has some cultural mandate, which is just such BS, and that he's able to reshape what America looks like. That's the focus here of the Kennedy Center, and we see more of it with Trump talking right here.
We're going to make a lot of changes, including the seats, the decor, pretty much everything. Needs a lot of work.
So two things there. The first is Donald Trump just sounds dumb. We're going to redo the seats. A lot is going to change. It's like, okay, are you the president or are you an interior designer? Why is this what you're thinking about when the economy is crashing? The second, there's some real dictator imagery there up on the ledger, trying to pretend that he's strong, literally at his weakest moment in his presidency so far. I think this is very purposeful. Again, it's why Donald Trump is going to the Kennedy Center, pretending like it's this cultural hub that he's taken over. It's like, sure, the Kennedy Center puts on plays and has award shows, like, great. But that's not like dictating what the American culture is. That's not dictating what we see in our media. But Trump is trying to control anything he possibly can and try to pretend that he's strong in doing so. But he's not. Neither is Elon. Sure, they have this power and unlawful authority, but they're getting pushback, largely from the public that voted for them. And Jessica Tarloff talked more about that here.
That you want.
You're doing one right now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you're doing that.
They are.
Well, I found
Elon
this one
Musk
example. This one example that says it's bad.
$800 million from Johns Hopkins is more than one example. There's thousands of employees being fired.
What are the cuts? What are they cutting?
NIH
It's
grants
administrative.
that do our R&D.
It's redundant,
no, it's not. Go
and it has to do with technology.
The veterans that are getting fired, Social Security payments, that they're marking people as dead who are not dead. How do you feel about that?
Those are mistakes.
No big deal.
But the thing is, you will agree with this, and then you will go, but I don't like the way it's being done.
Because he's not
well, then how do you do it?
Doing it. You do it like they did in the 90s. You don't do it like this. Elon Musk is getting more and more government contracts. He's not having to look under the hood of what he's doing. His companies aren't up for examination, but he's going around doing this. You know, it costs 12 cents per day to keep someone who has HIV alive, right? And we're cutting those contracts.
We're killing people with HIV.
We are. Take a look at the New York Times article from the weekend.
As Elon's plan to go after Social Security continues to backfire, I don't know how much more unpopular he could get. I think he's at a 36% approval rating right now. And of course, it's all hardcore MAGA and just like some online weirdos who think he's a genius because he built a company off of government subsidies and continues to steal billions of dollars from taxpayers every single day. But when he goes after Social Security, it's a wrap. And he's already doing that. And he doesn't have to do it by actually slashing the program. He's going after the field offices, making sure that people with disabilities or are maybe too old to leave their house on their own have to go in person if there's a problem with their Social Security. There's already tens of thousands of Social Security complication-related deaths a year that just come because people don't maybe get their check on time or there's a problem with it. And Elon Musk is going to cause more of that, cause actual death with these actions he's taking. But he, of course, does not care. This is just a big show, which we saw more of that big show in an attempt to distract Carolyn Levitt right here.
Post overnight saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that, did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon?
Of course, we started with a conversation about the pardons. This idea that Donald Trump can just void them or ask questions about them, or I don't even know what he's doing with them, is just an attempt to kind of muddy the waters and blur the line of what his powers are as he attempts to take over everything. We can't allow it to happen. We're calling it out on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can leave a like on this video. You can hit that subscribe button. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.